What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Fireside Giants. I'm your host, Anthony Rivardo, joined not by my co-host, Alex Wilson. Don't worry, guys. He'll be back soon. He is enjoying some much-needed vacation time. If anybody deserves a little bit of time off, it's Alex, one of the hardest working people that I know. He'll be back on the channel soon enough, so don't worry about that. But in the meantime, I'm still here to deliver this daily New York Giants content for you all. And today, again, taking an early look at free agency, I want to talk about how much money the New York Giants have to spend this offseason, because it seems like there's a lot of fans in the comment sections of our episodes who maybe don't understand the salary cap and the way that it works and how much space the New York Giants truly have this upcoming offseason. There have been some fans and outlets that have said, oh, the Giants have 30 million, the Giants have 40 million, they have 50 million, they have 70 million. How much cap space do the Giants really have? Well, I am finally here to answer that question for you all and give you the breakdown on how much money the Giants currently have and how much money they could have by the time free agency rolls around. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and dive right on into it and talk about the New York Giants' current projected salary cap space first and foremost. Right now, the New York Giants are projected to have $43,380,000 in salary cap space this upcoming offseason. That's before making any roster moves, trades, restructures, releases, all of that stuff, which is part of what I'm going to discuss in this episode. But right now, the Giants are projected to have $43 million in cap space per over the cap, which is a very reliable and official source for salary cap numbers. So $43 million. Is that a lot of money? Yes and no, because that money dries up really quickly. When you compare it to the rest of the teams around the NFL, say, for example, if you want to go look inside the Giants division, the Commanders have $78 million in salary cap space for this upcoming offseason. The Patriots have $120 million in salary cap space this upcoming offseason. Raiders at 92 million. So when you look at the Giants at 43 million, you say, all right, that's a decent amount. At least, they're not the Saints, who are 54 million over the cap. The Browns are 30 million over the cap. The Seahawks are 13 million over the cap. Those teams have to get rid of some of their star players, their best players, in order to just be livable in the 2025 season. The Giants aren't in that situation. They don't have a cap crunch. They don't have to restructure deals. They don't have to move on from anybody, make trades, cut players. In fact, they are a team that has enough cap space where they are positioned in a way that they could absorb some of those contracts. Let's say the Saints want to trade Derek Carr. Remember, there was that rumor that potentially the Giants might be interested in him. The Giants do have the cap space to inherit his contract. Or let's talk about one of the superstars who might hit the market this offseason. I mentioned the Seahawks are $13 million over the salary cap space. They might look to trade DK Metcalf this offseason in order to clear some space. The Giants are one of those teams that do have enough salary cap space to inherit DK Metcalf and hand him a new contract. So $43 million, to some it might sound like a lot, to some it might not sound like enough. But when you really boil it down to brass tacks, the Giants are in a pretty solid financial position to absorb some big contracts or hand out some big deals in free agency. And one of the major reasons why is, A, the cap space goes up every single year. The salary cap, it continues to increase as the popularity of the NFL continues to increase. So the Giants are going to have even more money to spend in subsequent off seasons. Though that is inflation, that does increase the average salary of players' contracts as well. So keep that in mind. But the cap is going to go up every year. And the New York Giants don't have a lot of contracts that are extended through the 2026 season or 2027. A lot of the deals that they have currently signed are short-term deals, a lot of rookie contracts. They don't have a bunch of big contracts handed out that extend into the future. And on top of that, if you're looking at the Giants cap space, $43 million this offseason is good. I believe the next offseason, let me go ahead and confirm this on over the cap. In 2026, the Giants are currently projected to have $140 million in salary cap space. Of course, that's going to change after they sign some players in free agency this offseason, after they draft players this offseason, after they extend some players. That number is going to change. But even still, projected at $140 million. A lot of that has to do with the fact that the Daniel Jones contract completely wipes off the books next year, at least for the most part. The overwhelming majority of it will be gone. But the Giants are positioned in a way where, let's use DK Metcalf again as an example. If they traded for him and they gave him a long-term contract extension, they could easily backload that deal. So the 2025 cap hit with the $43 million that the Giants have right now, they could make his cap hit $10 million, let's say. But in 2026, that cap hit could be 30 million. And maybe the year after it's 40, depending on what the average annual salary is on that deal. But by the time you're paying him 30, 40 million, you don't have a lot of cap tied up to players in general. So you've already got so much future salary cap space that you could invest into players. So the Giants are positioned not only to sign some players, but they're positioned to sign some players to long-term, very lucrative contracts based on their salary cap health. 2026, like I said, 140 million in expected cap space. 211 million in total team cap space in 2027 because they only have the 2024 rookie class under contract, Andrew Thomas, Dexter Lawrence, and Brian Burns, and nobody else. The Giants don't have long-term contracts signed right now. Everything, for the most part, is short-term. And again, a lot of these players are going to get new deals. The Giants are going to sign long-term deals this offseason. But that's really the reason why they can sign these long-term deals. They just don't have players under contract long-term. So if they want to go in free agency or make a trade, last offseason, they made that big blockbuster deal for Brian Burns, traded away a second-round pick to acquire him, immediately handed him a 5-year contract. They could do that again this offseason. They can afford to sign a T. Higgins to a 5-year deal if they want to, because outside of 2026, they don't really have anybody under contract. 2025, I mean, 2026, 7, 28, 29, they don't really have any money tied up. So the Giants have a lot of long-term financial freedom, which could allow them to sign some big long-term deals this offseason. Higgins is an example. If they want to go the trade route, Garrett Wilson is a 24-year-old Pro Bowl level wide receiver, hasn't been to a Pro Bowl yet, but 3 straight receiving seasons of 1,000 yards or more, former offensive rookie of the year. If he ends up on the trade block, the Giants want to trade for Garrett Wilson. Well, they could easily afford to hand him the long-term contract extension that he desires and pair him with Malik Nabers for the next 5 years because they don't have any contracts that would prevent them from doing such a thing. So that is pretty much the long-term outlook on the New York Giants salary cap space and why they do have the autonomy to sign pretty much anybody long-term this offseason. Again, it's not because of the cap space that they have in 2025. It's because of the cap space that they're expected to have in 26, 27, 28, and 29. They don't have any money tied up in those years, really. By the time we get to 2029, the only player on their contract is Andrew Thomas. Not even Brian Burns, not even Dexter Lawrence. He's the only one with a cap hit in 2029. Brian Burns' deal expires in 2028. So again, long-term outlook of this team, they just haven't re-signed a lot of their homegrown talent over the years. Barkley, McKinney, whatever. A lot of these guys just walk in free agency, so they don't have all of these deals extending past this season. Once you get to 2026, I mean, there's like 20 players, 30 players at the most under contract, with a lot of them probably getting cut. So Giants have a lot of freedom to do whatever they want with their long-term spending. But let's talk some more about how they could free up money for this offseason. But first, a quick message from the sponsor of today's episode, BetUS. I'm going to go ahead and take a look over at BetUS and place a bet, as you know I love to do. But today's bet is going to be a really easy one that I think New York Giants fans are going to like in particular. So I'm looking at the Super Bowl this weekend, and I'm looking over at BetUS, and the Kansas City Chiefs money line is minus 117. The reason that I'm taking that is, A, I'm a New York Giants fan, and I refuse to believe that the Eagles have any chance of winning this. And B, if you're looking at the current bets placed for the Super Bowl, the majority of the money has been placed on the Philadelphia Eagles, in fact. And historically speaking, Vegas usually wins in situations like this. If most of the money is being placed on the Eagles, when the line is this tight, oftentimes the other team wins, like the Chiefs in this situation. Plus, I think the Chiefs are the better team pound for pound. They have better experience, playoff experience, more than anyone in the NFL right now. They're going for the three-peat. I think they're going to make history and secure the three-peat, and I think they're going to win this game. So this is me kind of giving you guys my Super Bowl prediction. I think the Kansas City Chiefs are going to win this weekend. I pray to God they do. I really can't stomach the Eagles winning a Super Bowl, and I know a lot of you feel the same way as me. So if we're going to make or even lose some money, whatever, I'm comfortable placing bets on the Chiefs money line, knowing that I'm hopefully going to be banking on Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid to win a Super Bowl over just Jalen freaking Hurts and Nick Sirianni. So I'm going with the Chiefs money line. I'm going to throw a little bit of cash down on that. And, hopefully it's an enjoyable Super Bowl, one that we can all be excited about. Hopefully the Chiefs win. And you know what? Hopefully I win some bets in the process. It's been a really fun season betting on NFL games this year. This is the last one, the big finale. But hopefully the Kansas City Chiefs win me a little bit of cash. So, guys, make sure you go check out BetUS, the sportsbook with the fastest payouts in the industry, and use code YouTube150 for a 150% deposit match up to $2,000. Now, back into the New York Giants salary cap space and outlook for the 2025 season. Just spent a lot of time discussing the Giants' future salary cap space. And again, I think that's important to paint the whole picture. But let's talk about how they can create money for 2025. One of the easiest ways that the Giants can create money for this offseason is by restructuring contracts. They have several big deals still on their books. Although they're not long-term, they don't have a lot of long-term deals. They do have some high-priced salaries this offseason, some big cap charges that they could easily lower with restructurings. Now, number one is Brian Burns. He has the highest cap hit of any player on the team this offseason at $29.75 million. However, if you restructure his contract, that could save the Giants up to $16 million in cap space. $16 million, that right there is basically Stephon Diggs' contract, right? Or whoever you want to sign a free agency, just using him as an example because he's one of the top free agent wide receivers. Now, if you want to take it a step further, the player with the second largest cap hit, Dexter Lawrence, $23.8 million. You can restructure his deal and free up $9.8 million. Let's go to the third player, Andrew Thomas. His cap hit is $21 million. If you restructure his deal, you save $12.5 million in cap space. Bobby Okereke has a $14 million cap hit. Restructuring his deal frees up $4 million in cap space. And John Runyon Jr. has an $11.75 million cap hit. If you restructure his deal, you'll free up another $4 million in cap space. So once again, the New York Giants have $43 million in expected salary cap space. They can restructure contracts to get up to $45 million more in salary cap space. If they really wanted to go all in, free up all this money, the Giants could have over $90 million in salary cap space for the 2025 offseason. But there are drawbacks to doing this, to restructuring contracts, and I'll discuss that in just a second. But I also want to point out this kind of money that I just mentioned that they're saving, this is through restructuring only. I didn't even mention roster releases nor trades. They could trade certain players to free up more cap space. They could cut certain players to free up some cap space as well. All of those things will be under consideration. But if we're talking about just restructuring deals, the Giants could free up $45 million in cap space by restructuring their star players' contracts without moving on from a single one of them. But the drawback here, which is what I'm going to explain now, is if you restructure those contracts, you're just pushing guaranteed money down the line. So remember I said in 2026, for example, the Giants have $140 million in salary cap space for the upcoming 2026 offseason. If they restructure Brian Burns' contract, free up that $16 million this offseason, well, you're probably putting an extra $8 million cap hit on top of his already astronomical $30 million cap number in 2026. So then his cap charge probably becomes closer to $40 million for the 2026 season and probably another $8 million in 2027. So you're spreading the money out across the different seasons, and you could spread it out in many different ways. But the drawback to restructuring deals, yes, you get short-term financial flexibility, but you hurt yourself long-term. You have to pay more money out to those players. The money has to get paid. Guaranteed money in these contracts gets paid out no matter what. It's just about when and how you want to pay it. And again, the Giants are paying a certain amount to Brian Burns this season. If they restructure his deal, they're just going to be paying him more in 26, 27, 28, 29, whenever. So you have to be careful when considering contract restructures, because if you're signing a lot of big contracts and you're backloading them, those cap charges will add up down the line. And you will run into a potential 2028 offseason where you start the offseason with $5 million in salary cap space, similar to the Baltimore Ravens right now. Now they need to trade players and cut players and restructure a bunch of deals just to get their head above water for the upcoming offseason. Because you also have to keep in mind there's a thing called effective salary cap space. The New York Giants currently rank 12th in the NFL in effective salary cap space. So, as I said, they have $43 million in projected cap space this offseason. Effective salary cap space is the cap space a team will have after signing at least 51 players and its projected rookie class to its roster. With effective salary cap space in mind, the Giants actually only have $32 million in effective salary cap space this offseason. That will dry up very, very quickly, especially if they're signing short-term one-year contracts like we expect for a potential bridge quarterback signing. A one-year deal, all of that cap money is in that first year. So let's say they sign a Justin Fields or Jameis Winston at around a 1-year, $10 million deal. That's a $10 million cap hit, immediately takes away $10 million out of the 32 in the effective space. And then the Giants only have $22 million left to spend, and they have a lot more holes to fill than $22 million can reasonably fill on its own. So once again, Giants don't actually have as much cap space as you might think. Long term, the outlook is very bright because they don't have a lot of big money tied up down the road. But this offseason, in effective salary cap space, the Giants truly don't have a whole lot. So they're probably going to have to mortgage a little bit of that future, throw some of these big contracts, the guaranteed money down the line, kick that can down the road, and create some higher cap hits in 2026, 27, 28. Meanwhile, opening up some money for themselves in 2025 so that they can keep their head above water and improve their roster in significant fashion. So I just wanted to go through for about 15 minutes like I did in this episode and discuss all the different cap ramifications that the New York Giants have in front of them, their long-term outlook, their short-term outlook, and how they can create more cap space for 2025. However, it's something that they have to consider carefully so that they don't create cap problems in 2026, 27, and 28. So there's the full picture breakdown. Refer back to this episode. Keep this one in mind once we get closer to free agency. It's only a month and a week away. Second week of March is when free agency begins, the new league year. Again, the Giants have some money to spend, especially long term. They can definitely go shopping at the higher price options in the market, but they're going to have to move some money around and restructure some deals in order to reasonably afford a lot of the contracts that they're going to want to sign. And they do have a lot of holes to fill in their roster, so they're going to have to be careful, and they are going to have to restructure some deals this offseason in order to upgrade their roster. But again, that's pretty much the breakdown. We will probably do more breakdowns throughout the offseason, especially as the Giants sign some players, restructure deals. We'll give you guys reactions and analysis to all of that throughout the offseason, of course, with my partner in crime, Alex. So make sure you stay tuned. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Ring the bell. Follow us on all of our social media channels at Fireside Giants. And make sure you go check out that US, the sportsbook with the fastest payouts in the industry. Without further ado, I'll catch you all on the next one. Have a good one. And let's go Giants.